Right, hello, this is Stanmore station, which is at the end of the Jubilee line on the underground system. And just have a look at, can you just, not there. There are some chain link fence, you can see those there. They're quite old with those concrete posts. And they would have surrounded the whole sort of island bits in front of the station. So that's a reference point. Let's have a look here. So this is the development of houses that were put up. These ones at the front, I think, were put up in the 50s, maybe the 40s. But the thing to notice is these concrete posts, which are exactly the same concrete posts as the ones in front of the station. See, exactly the same design. And then they would have had chain links that would have gone from here onto those posts all the way across and around. So basically that's a mirror of what's outside the station. So if you were to look at an overhead picture, which exists, and I'll try and put it on the links, you'll see that you've got more chain link fence here, but that's a much cheaper later version. So yeah, I think these are post-war. But the reason for doing this, and it's one of these situations where I think I might have done this video before, so if I have and you've seen it before, I do apologise. I must be careful how I do it, because these are all interwar houses, so these are basically 1930s. And they've often been written about and photographs taken of them. Some of them are very similar to each other. Some of them have seen enormous amounts of changes done to them. Nice central island here. These are repeats. You can see they're the same on both sides of the road, but they are very emblematic of a certain sort of time period. I'm not going to say they're Art Deco. Some people might do. I would say that they're more sort of modernist, but they're very much English modernist. And what I mean that is their use of brick as opposed to just pure concrete, so concrete rendering on some of them. But it is perfect, what's referred to as Metroland, late Metroland. This one's interesting, only so much as the fact that until a few years ago it had all its original windows, but they've all been replaced by modern ones, which, I don't know, it's not for me to make judgments. These are people's homes. They've paid for them. What they do to them is not my business. It's a little bit of a shame, but people don't live in museums, do they? They live in homes, so it really is down to them once they've purchased it. And protections can take place. These are probably the ones that are most photographed. So this is on Valencia Road. So that's Kerry Avenue that goes down to London Road in front of the station. There's not an awful lot down that way, it has to be said. So the predominant amount of them are just literally on that section of Kerry Avenue and then up onto Valencia Road. But these are particularly nice examples. But these are private roads, and the reason why I can tell you that is because there's no pavement. You have to walk on the road if you're a peasant like me. The trees are very much of a time period, although they've been matured. Not the best of days to be shooting this because it's quite cloudy, but as you can see, some of them have been altered quite dramatically. And if you were to look at period photographs of them, you'll see that they are very, very different from how they were originally built. So basically at this point, they stop. Only a small number of these very stark 30s modernist houses. Very aspiring, and they were obviously, because I think they date from the mid-30s, they were obviously put in very much with the expectation of the underground coming in, because the idea being that once the underground station opened, which I think was 1932, I think Cannons Park, which is the next station along, I think that was 34, but I could be wrong. But these came up at the same time period, so it was very much an aspiration. You were coming out into what was Middlesex countryside, and there was an opportunity to buy a very modern house out in what was considered as Middlesex countryside. Now it's just another part of London. But the real beauty, apart from these houses, is that once you've walked up Kerry Avenue, so you've crossed the road from the station, there's a set of traffic lights, keep walking up Kerry Avenue. This is Kerry Avenue North. Aeroplane just flying over, that's probably from Elstree or Aldenham. You keep walking up here, you get to Stanmore Country Park. Another little shot of that one there. I don't like to stand too long in front of people's houses filming because, you know, for obvious reasons, they probably get a little bit jumpy about stuff like that, so quite brief. What I would say is there are people who do walking tours of some of the houses in Stanmore, and one particular example is a guy called Josh who does a sort of platform called Modernism in Metroland. He has a Instagram account, he has a Blue Sky account, I don't know whether he's still on X, but yeah, his stuff is very good, and I've been on one of his walking tours a few years back, and it's very good. It's a fair bit of walking, I will tell you that. So this is 90s, may even be later than that. That house over there is particularly noteworthy because it's been kept very much in a period style. And that was part of the tour. There was a little fox there running through. But yes, then you get up to here, to the gate, and this is Stanmore Country Park. Now, I'm really sure that I have actually filmed this before, but, you know, this video may be very different from the one I did before. So looking back, and that I looked at all the way back to the station. That big development that you can see over there, that only went up within, what, about 6 years ago. It's sort of luxury apartments for retirees, but it replaced a office block that had been there since the late 60s, early 70s. So a very changed landscape from what was 100 years ago. This was very much countryside with the village of Stanmore. Just going to go through this little sty thing, and then you can see we are in the countryside. Look, you couldn't get more countryside than that on gate, could you? And this is the country park. Things you can see in the paths. You have a northern loop, an eastern loop. Yeah, it's worth coming out. It's worth actually just, you know, getting on the Jubilee line and just going the whole distance through to Stanmore, getting off, and then you can do this walk. An older sign there from the 90s, I think. But just immediately you walk through and you're up to another little sty bit, and yeah, you're out into literally the countryside. So this has been preserved. I walked through here only to just make a little comment, because when I did the walking tour with Josh, the people who lived, who may still very much live in the house over there, as you can see, that's the one I pointed out before. That is a modernist house, without a doubt. That is, I think it's actually 60s modernist. Very nice. But the people who lived there, and I think they've lived there since it was built, had described that when they came here, there were still cows and sheep out in these fields. So it is a landscape which has been preserved, but it is now very much seen as a sort of utility for the public to use, and rightly so, because to be honest with you, no one's going to do farming out here. It's too close to habitation and pollution as well. But you can see, walk through, and look at that. It's not pure countryside, but it's the country of sorts. So what I might do, actually, I feel a bit John Rogers here. John Rogers, the Lost Byway John Rogers, who does, you'll know who he is if you watch these videos, obviously, but John does some really fantastic, and has done for years now, walking videos going through parts of London and the outskirts of London, and sometimes further afield. Very absorbing videos, but much better done than mine. by a not a country mile, but several miles. But it's all to do with. It's not always to do with presentation, is it? It's sometimes just to do with content and what you're saying. So I'm sure that John has actually done the Stanmore Country Park, and if he hasn't, I would very much suggest that it might be a good idea, because it is such a fascinating thing. From time to time, I have actually mentioned to John and said, "Oh, why not do some stuff out in northwest London?" But his comment has been that it's because he has a friend called Nick. I can't remember his second name. It's a Greek-sounding name. And Nick had done a book called Scarp, which is about this part of the world, the escarpment, the sort of the wheeled area and everything. It's something that he it's his specialism. I think John sort of treats it as like that's more Nick's area, which is nice of him to do, really. So I'm going to finish off there, and I'm going to do another video which will join up with this one. So that will be like a part 2. So thanks for watching this bit.